Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chris. It's your boy Chris. It's another amazing episode of Financipation. This channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. On this channel, everybody, I typically try to give you like a six-figure MBA level worth of investing knowledge and financial advice for free. And this week, guys, we're going to kind of change it up a little bit. I have been doing my relationship series the last couple of weeks. And last week, I talked about 16 signs of a low-value man. This week, I'm going to talk about 16 signs of a high-value man. For the record, everybody, I think reality does hit men a little bit harder. And I personally have never liked the idea or the term high-value man specifically for this reason. In my opinion, in our Instagram society that we live in, the term high value man has devolved into a guy who just makes a lot of money. And in my opinion, there's a lot more that goes into it besides making a bunch of money. You need to bring value to yourself, to your family, and to the community around you. But with that, let's get started, okay? Here are my 16 signs, everybody, of a high value man. First and foremost, high value men are in the top 10% of income earners, and you have to maintain that amount for, I'm going to say, at least 5 or more years. So according to Investopedia, if you live in the United States of America, in order for you to be a top 10% income earner in the United States, you need to be a man that's making $175,000 a year. So in the US, that puts you in the top 10%. You have to maintain that, to me anyway, for at least 5 years. I'll be honest, everybody. Women, they're judged by their beauty. Men, we are judged by our wallet. It is what it is. You can get mad, you can get ticked off, you can get pissed or whatever. Who knows? At the end of the day, men were supposed to provide, and that's pretty much how we get judged by our value. Women, they get judged by their value, by their beauty, and by their bodies. It just is what it is. A lot of men don't reach those numbers. However, I will say this until they get into their 30s, and in order to do that, you essentially are going to have to sacrifice most likely a decade of your life studying, working really hard, and applying your trade or building your business to get that amount. That's one reason why most high-value men don't really hit those numbers until they get into their mid to early 30s. And on top of that, I'm also going to be completely honest with you, ladies. There are vastly more beautiful women in the world than there are men who are in the top 10% of income earners. So as a result, ladies, if you're the type of woman who's sitting out here pretty much just trying to rely on your beauty, and because you want to marry a quote unquote rich guy, keep this in mind. There are over 1 million women turning 18 every day. And of that 1 million women, about 200 to 300,000 are probably beautiful. So as a result, ladies, the numbers are not in your favor if you only want to rely on your beauty. As far as the men out here or whatever, top 10% earners, once again, they make $175,000 a year, and they have to maintain that for 5 or more years. So let me give you an example of a high value man who has attained these types of income levels. Let me introduce you to a gentleman named Richard Branson. He's worth over $4 billion. Richard Branson owns over 400 companies. He has a space travel company called Virgin Galactic. He has a stake in a British bank called Virgin Money. He owns an airline. He owns a couple of cruise ships or whatever. He owns a very lucrative e-commerce business. And on top of it, he owns a couple of islands in the Caribbean. Yes, I said that correctly. He owns a couple of islands, particularly Necker Island in the Caribbean. And something I actually like about Richard Branson is that he's an philanthropist. And in real life, he is a legitimate real life Tony Stark. And by philanthropist or whatever, Richard Branson believes that you can do good and you can make billions of dollars at the same time. And my advice to anybody who's listening to this is you need to read his book, Finding My Virginity. That's his second autobiography, Finding My Virginity by Richard Branson. That is one of the best books I have ever read, period, on how a guy has figured out how to make money and help people at the same time. And by making money, I'm talking about making billions of dollars. So for better or for worse, one surefire sign of a high value man is a man that is more often than not a high income earner who can support themselves and a family off their income alone. Number 2, high value men hide their success and they don't use words like alpha male or high value to describe themselves. High value men are typically very approachable, but the thing about it is they usually hide their success. You will almost never hear a high value man or a wealthy man running around talking about, I'm high value, I have a lot of money. That's not the way these kind of men work or whatever. And the reason why is very simple, because things that are understood, they don't need to be said. Top of the food chain, high value men never have to run around telling anybody that they're top of the food chain or high value. There's a certain walk that they have, there's a certain swag they have, there's a certain confidence. When a high value guy walks into a room, you just immediately kind of know, but it's weird because they don't really talk a lot, they don't really say much. It's like I said in another video, wealthy money is typically very quiet. In essence, high value men literally never go around telling people that they're high value. And one thing I also want to say is this: read that book, The Millionaire Next Door. In that book, it typically talks about how the typical decamillionaire in the United States of America drives a 7-year-old car. They wear jeans that they bought from Walmart. They have a business. They work that business, and you literally never know if they're wealthy. One surefire sign of a high value man is that they don't use words like high value, alpha male, and any of that kind of jargon to describe themselves, and they don't run around telling everybody that they're rich. Next, high value men are mentally strong and they have a top 10% mindset. High value men, they refuse to be mediocre and they absolutely detest mediocrity. These men all learn to tap into something that allowed them to do superhuman things from a mental perspective. Once again, this is that guy that knows he's destined for greatness, but he doesn't just sit on those laurels. He works his absolute balls off in his 20s or wherever to get to that point. And then 10 years later, when he gets to his 30s, typically speaking, the world is his. They have an almost superhuman belief that they are going to be successful, but they work extremely hard to get there. And one surefire sign of a high value man is that they change the world to fit them and not the other way around. Next, high value men, they control their time. Time is the most important and the most wasted resource in this world. High value men, they own their own lives and they control their own destinies. They have literally essentially cut those golden handcuffs from the 9 to 5. And one of the differences that I have found among a high value man and a high income earner is this: high value men, both of them make a lot of money, but high value men, they control their time, whereas high value income earners typically do not. So I've met men who make $400,000 a year, but these men work 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, and they literally never see their wives or girlfriends and spend no time with their kids. And I've also met men who make $100,000 a year. These brothers work 4 hours a week and they take 4-month vacations with their families, with their wives, and with their kids. In my opinion, I'm gonna be honest with you people, to me, the second guy, even though he makes less money, is a high value man. Why? And the first guy I talked about is not. Why? Because the second person controls their time. One surefire sign of a high value man is that they control their time and they warp realities to fit their lives. Next, high value men hyper max out one ability, but they transition that God-given talent to so many other areas. So high value men are chameleons and unicorns in that they essentially dominate in very, very dissimilar industries. They're literally the top of the food chain. They're 0.001% good in one area, but they take that skill set and they use it in that work ethic and they use it to dominate something completely different. Jeff Bezos, he was an electrical engineer. The man ended up flipping that to build a computer IT company that is a $1 trillion online company called Amazon. Grant Cardone, he's very good at real estate. He's an absolute great marketer, however. And for example, let me give you another example of a person who had a hypermax ability and they basically took that ability and took it to so many different areas. Let me introduce you to Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant only made $330 million playing basketball. Shaquille O'Neal once said that Kobe would lock himself into a gym and play basketball and practice basketball for 24 hours straight sometimes. Over the course of his career, Kobe Bryant amassed over almost 34,000 points, 1,944 steals, 18 straight NBA All-Star appearances, 17 first All-NBA defensive team selections, and 2 Olympic gold medals. Kobe Bryant scored more 40-point games than LeBron James and Michael Jordan. He scored more 50-point games than Michael Jordan and Kevin Durant, and he scored more 60-point games than Michael Jordan. Kobe had a notoriously insane work ethic. But you know what's crazy about it? Kobe took that same work ethic in basketball and transitioned it into entertainment, and he won an Oscar. One surefire sign of a high value man is that they are world class, absolutely 0.001% good in one area, but they transition that skill set and that talent into something that is completely different, and they become world class at something else. Next, high value men have a tribe and they are recognized by other high value men. Birds of a feather people, they flock together. If you hang out with 9 losers, you're going to be the 10th one. If you hang out with 9 meth heads, you're going to be the 10th one. High value men, they roll with tribes, and these tribes essentially invite them into their country clubs. They invite them to travel abroad with them. They invite them to invest in that business with them. They invite them basically to their church. They introduce them to their pastors. They introduce them to their fraternity brothers. High value men will introduce their daughters to you because they recognize you as a high value man. High value men and guys at the top, they roll in circles and they hang out with each other. They let you know and the thing that's crazy about it, they also let you know when you are allowed to enter into their world. They essentially give you that invite or whatever. They realize, typically another thing I find too about high value men is that they work together, and they realize that in 1 year of working with another high value man, they can accomplish the same thing that would take them literally 10 years to do on their own. So once again, people, high value men, they are rarely loners. They are very rarely islands. They have a very small but a very strong tribe of guys that they roll with. And at the end of the day, people, game, it recognizes game. One surefire sign of a high value man is they are recognized by other high value men. They have a tribe and they roll in packs. Next, high value men have walkaway power with women, with money, with businesses, and with people. One of the most powerful skills any man can possess, whether you're low value, high value, or whatever, is the power to walk away. For example, a high value man always has an abundance mindset, whether it be women, whether it's money, whether it's businesses, or whether it's their time. A high value man has no issues walking away from a beautiful woman that's disrespecting him, because he knows eventually, somewhere down the line, he's gonna have another one. High value men never get friend zoned by women. Why? Because games are for children, and high value men, they don't play that. High value men have no problem saying goodbye to a company that keeps underpaying them year after year when they should have gotten the promotion. Why? Because that high value man knows that the second he puts his resume on the job market, he's gonna have about 15 other employers calling him. High value men have no issue turning down a lucrative but shady business deal because it goes against their morals and it's against the law. Whether it be women, money, or whatever, the ability, fellas, to walk away is the most powerful skill that almost any man can have. And high value men almost always have an abundance mindset at everything in their life. Because at the end of the day, when you know you can do better, you will never settle for anything less. For example, there was this kid who grew up in the projects, and he came from a very broken, very dysfunctional household. His mother had him when she was 15, and this kid, when he turned 18, once again, he was living in the projects. Nike offered him a $90 million shoe deal if he signed on the day of his 18th birthday. The kid turned it down. Never even told his mother about the deal. 11 years later, in 2015, that same kid, when he was 29, Nike came back to him and he signed a $1 billion lifetime contract with Nike. That kid's name was LeBron James. One surefire sign of a high value man is that you have a patience and you understand your talent and you understand your skills and you have walkaway power because you know eventually you will and you can do better. Next, high value men, they work hard, they work smart, and they have an extremely good work ethic. Guys, it's like this. You are never going to be successful in anything in life if you don't work hard and you don't work smart. It's not one or the other. You have to do both. This is that guy, once again, who worked 100 hours a week for 10 years to build that multi-million-dollar celestial business. He essentially spent his entire 20s getting his business off the ground, studying in med school, learning his trade, learning to be an electrician or whatever. And as a result, when he turned 30, now this guy can literally pick and choose any woman that he wants and more, and he can basically buy any island that he wants. So one surefire sign, people, of a high value man is they have an extremely good work ethic, and they work very hard and they work very smart. Next, oh, by the way, please hit that like button. Please like, share, and comment on this video. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps the algorithm, and I thoroughly enjoy giving you guys free content, as I'm essentially giving you an MBA level worth of education for free here on YouTube. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Next, high value men think long term. Once again, whether it's women, whether it's investments, or whether it's business opportunities, high value men say, okay, how is this going to affect me? How is this going to affect my grandkids down the line? Low value losers, however, especially low value men, they think on a day-to-day basis. Average men think on a week-to-week basis. High value men think on a decade-to-decade basis. So I'll give you an example. When I first started Financipation, I could immediately tell within 2 to 3 seconds of talking to somebody whether they were going to take my financial advice as far as how they should invest their money, or whether they were going to essentially blow it at the club. Literally 2 to 3 seconds. And a high value man understands that compound interest is essentially like planting a tree. And every year that tree is going to get bigger and bigger. So I'll give you an example. Once again, if a low value guy or a broke man, if I told a low value person to invest $500 a month into my total stock market index fund, that low value loser would say, I don't have that kind of money, and they would just walk away. If I told a broke high value man pretty much invest $500 a month into this total stock market index fund because it's going to give you an 11% return on their money, that high value man would figure out how to do it. And by the way, 40 years later, if that man did put that $500 a month into that total stock market index fund that gives them an 11% return on their money, they would have $4 million waiting for them. One surefire sign, people, of a high value man is that they plan accordingly. They see things literally years and decades in advance, and they plan their lives accordingly. Next, high value men, they are extremely good with their time. From my experience, people, high value men don't waste a lot of time Netflix and chilling unless it's with their girl. And they also don't really waste a lot of time watching a bunch of TV. They just don't do that. You don't see a lot of high value men spending exorbitantly large amounts of time pretty much at the bar or the club unless they own the bar or the club. You don't see high value men wasting a lot of time pretty much on social media unless if it's something that's pushing their businesses. One surefire sign of a high value man is that they absolutely maximize almost every second of every day that they are awake. Next, high value men are usually employers, and they are typically entrepreneurs, or they dominate corporate America. So 70% of the millionaires today are entrepreneurs. I don't push entrepreneurship on this channel. I don't push working in corporate America on this channel. I push both, period. Because the US tax code is literally written for entrepreneurs. If you own your own business, you spend your money first, then you get taxed. If you work in corporate America, you get taxed first, then you get to spend your money. So own a business, people, and starting one is not that hard. High value men, they typically create jobs for their friends, and they also are superheroes who create jobs for their family members. For example, when LeBron James got to the NBA, he hired a Nike executive to teach 3 of his high school basketball teammates and friends business and marketing. His idea was, if I find a top of the food chain 0.1% guy who's dominating Nike, and I get that guy to invest in my friends and teach them pretty much how to run a business, they are going to be able to run my business for me very successfully. That company was called LRMR Marketing Agency. LeBron, Rich Paul, Randy Mims, and Maverick Carter. Maverick Carter has served as LeBron James's business representative since 2008. Maverick Carter has allowed LeBron James to sign that $1 billion Nike I was talking about. Maverick Carter was the one who basically orchestrated that, his high school basketball teammate. Maverick Carter also is the CEO of Spring Hill Entertainment, which is LeBron James' entertainment company. He's brought you movies like Space Jam. He's also helped LeBron James franchise over 20 Blaze Pizzas. Today, Maverick Carter is worth $50 million. That's not bad for a kid who also grew up basically right outside the projects in a broken home. LeBron James gave him those opportunities. Rich Paul, which is another member of LRMR, is currently the owner of Clutch Sports, and that is he's the number one sports agent right now, I believe, in the world as far as the NBA is concerned. Rich Paul is worth $120 million. Also another friend of LeBron who he grew up with. LeBron grew up in Section 8 housing, and today he is a billionaire. But the one I find really dope about it is, as a billionaire, he basically gave opportunity to his high school teammates, and he made them millionaires as well. It's pretty crazy. LeBron put his friends and his family members on, and take it from me, because I have tried to do this. That is not easy. It's not easy when you quote unquote are doing quite well, and then you're trying to reach back and help the people you grew up with. That's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And one surefire sign of a high value man is that they create jobs for their friends and their family members who want to work, and they help others create generational wealth in addition to themselves. Next, high value men, they invest in themselves. Kanye West lost $2 billion in 7 days. And Kanye is on record saying, I have not read a book in 30 years. Honestly, it shows. High value men invest in themselves, people, like crazy. They read books. The average millionaire reads 1 book per week. That's 52 books a year. The average millionaire or whatever, the average high value men, they get advanced degrees. They basically figure out ways. Find mentors. This type of individual or whatever who does not get fat or morbidly obese, he invests in his body and they work out. High value men, they attend expensive seminars and they buy courses. High value men, they watch free financial podcasts and free financial channels like Financipation, so they can improve their financial literacy and understand how to invest their money so that thing just stacks and stacks, and how they can build generational wealth. High value men, they pay coaches and they pay mentors to tutor and to teach them. And one surefire sign of a high value man is that they invest in themselves. They read lots of books. They basically take care of their health, and they literally never stop learning, period. Next, high value men, they complete things. So you've heard of this guy before. He's a guy who almost moved out of his mommy's house. He's a guy who almost got the girl. He's a guy who almost signed and went pro. He's a guy who almost started that business. He's a guy who almost finished medical school. He's a guy that almost got that college degree. He's the guy that almost moved out of the trailer parks. He's that guy that almost moved out of the projects. He's that guy that almost made partner. You've heard of the almost guy. I'll be honest with you people, the almost guy is literally never a high value man. And the reason is simple, because high value men don't almost do anything. They finish what they start. And one surefire sign of a high value man is that when they say they're going to do something and they put their minds to it, they complete that task, period. They don't play the almost game. Next, high value men compartmentalize pain, they get over failure, and they are insanely resilient. I'm going to be completely real with you people. Life is not fair, so get over it. Most of the high value men I've met, they have been abandoned. They've been divorced. They had to move to a country, did not speak the language, and they had to learn that language. They've lost families. They've lost family members. They've dealt with insane amounts of racism. They've normally lost a lot more than they've won. They've had their wives potentially leave them. They have their girlfriends potentially leave them. Most high value men that I've met, they have dealt with a lot of pain and a lot of setbacks in their life. And on top of that, I have another video where I say very prominently in that video, I hope that you fail in life, because the one caveat I have noticed among almost all high value men, I don't care whether they were Latino, Hispanic, Black, Arab, Indian, Asian, it did not matter. The one caveat I've noticed, the one commonality I've noticed among all extremely successful men is that all of them have failed miserably at something. But you know the beautiful thing about it, even though they failed at something, they didn't stay there. They got back up. So whether it was a personal life, their financial life, their professional life, or literally all of the above, I have never met a successful man who didn't deal with a significantly life-altering amount of pain and figure out how to deal with it. For example, let me introduce you to a gentleman named Magic Johnson, in my opinion, the greatest point guard of all time. In the summer of 1991, the Los Angeles Lakers, led by Magic Johnson, played the Chicago Bulls. Magic Johnson was a 6'9" point guard, and he absolutely destroyed Michael Jordan in game 1 of the first game of the NBA Finals in 1991. And this is before my time, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm just basically going off of what my uncles, my daddy, and what I read online. But Magic Johnson absolutely cooked Michael Jordan in the first game of the NBA Finals, to the point where it got so bad, Phil Jackson basically made Scottie Pippen stick Magic Johnson in game 2 of the NBA Finals because Jordan could not stop Magic. And as it turns out, the Lakers ended up losing that series or whatever. In that series, with no Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with none of his all-stars, Magic Johnson averaged 20 points, 13 assists, and 8 rebounds. And the Lakers ended up losing that series. 3 months after the NBA Finals, Magic Johnson got a call, and he found that he was HIV positive. And as a result, he immediately had to retire from the NBA at 31 years old. So at the top of his physical peak, when he was cooking Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals, Magic Johnson was told, you will never play professional basketball ever again. When Magic Johnson found out that he basically had HIV, he immediately lost all of his sponsors, and pretty much everybody in the NBA literally turned their back on him. But Magic Johnson promised himself, and he promised his wife, that his second act will be greater than his first act. He said, basketball will not be a thing that defines me. And as a result, Magic Johnson, in my opinion, has went on to be, behind Michael Jordan, the greatest athlete turned entrepreneur of my lifetime. Magic Johnson owned a percentage of the Los Angeles Lakers. He invested and owned over 125 Starbucks franchises. He owns multiple TGI Fridays. He owns multiple movie theaters or whatever in Los Angeles. He owns a percentage of the LA Dodgers or whatever. Magic only made $24 million as a basketball player, but he made over $1 billion as an entrepreneur. That's not bad for a second act, people, especially when you were forced to retire at the game that you love, when you were literally in the height of your physical powers. So one surefire sign I found among high value men is that tragedy does not define these guys, and they don't run around and sit around and say things like life's not fair. One surefire sign of a high value man is that they are resilient, and when life hits them hard, they turn around and they hit life back even harder, and they keep moving on. Next, high value men, they usually have a whole bunch of haters, so get ready for them. I'll be honest, everybody, if you marry the beautiful woman, if you basically live in a big house, if you drive the nice cars or whatever, you have a very successful business, if you work extremely hard and you have a lot of money, if your kids are all doing very well, you are going to have a lot of people who will not like you, period. And you're going to have to get over that. In Australia, they call this tall poppy syndrome. In biblical times, they call these people Pharisees or whatever, because they're always hating on Jesus. In the manosphere, they call these guys simps and beta males or whatever. And in America, we mostly call these type of dudes haters, because that's exactly what they are. They're hating on you because you're doing something that they can't do. These are the type of losers who are too lazy to work as hard as you do or whatever, but then they get mad and they get pissed when you succeed, and then when they don't. It's very strange. These are the type of guys that get mad because you got the girl and they couldn't. These are the type of guys that get mad because when you were studying really hard in the library, when you were lifting weights, and you were training, when you were working on your craft or whatever and making good grades, these are the type of guys that were calling you a nerd. Now these guys' lives suck, and you're winning in every aspect of your life because you chose to be great. You chose to basically study hard and work hard, and they chose to be mediocre. And as a result, their lives suck, and your life is great. People, if you want to be successful and be a high-value man, then get ready because you are going to have a bunch of people who do not like you. One surefire sign of a high-value man is that there is a very loud and very passionate group of people who do not like them and who want them to fail. So get ready for it, people. Next. High-value men, and this is arguably my favorite one on the list, they marry high-value women and they create high-value children. More often than not, high-value men marry high-value women and they produce high-value children with that woman. When all is said and done, people, from what I'm noticing from the people who I've studied, it's not the businesses that you start, it's not the cars that you drive, it's not the money that you make. That stuff is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Your legacy, people, are your children, and they are your grandchildren. That is where your legacy lies. High-value men create high-value children that carry on the family business and the generational legacy. For example, I've used this guy a lot, but I'm going to use him again. LeBron James met his wife when he was 17 years old. LeBron grew up in a broken home in the projects. His wife, however, Savannah Brinson James, she grew up in a stable two-parent nuclear household with her father. LeBron said in an interview that when he met his wife, he wanted to marry her because he wanted to marry a girl who came from a strong two-parent family because he grew up in a broken home and he also grew up in the hood. LeBron also said he got married in his 20s because he knew getting married would keep him out of the nightclubs and out of tricking, and it would basically allow him to focus on his craft that God gave him the ability to do, which is a hoop and to play basketball. And getting married early allowed LeBron James to focus on basketball and also allow him to focus on being an entrepreneur. So LeBron has also said he wanted to be a good father and a good husband and to raise strong kids. And LeBron and his wife, at the time I'm recording this, have been married for 9 years. Both of LeBron's sons have already received full scholarships to Division I schools or whatever, and both of them will probably play in the NBA. In LeBron James's life, he has only made $400 million playing basketball. But get this, people, as an entrepreneur, he's made over $900 million whatever off the court. So that means as good as he is as a basketball player, LeBron James is literally 2 times better as an entrepreneur. So for all the fellas out here who are listening to this podcast and you're looking and you kind of wonder about your wife or whatever, if you notice, LeBron's wife does not bring shame to the family. The only thing she does is she helps her husband start businesses. She helps him raise strong kids. And on top of that, she helps him build the generational wealth. A surefire sign of a high-value man is that they normally marry high-value women that usually create high-value children, and those children usually carry on the generational legacy. And I can also say for myself that being a happily married man, people, men, when you find the right woman, everything in your life is that much easier, from your career to your business to your investments. It gets that much easier pretty much when you select the correct woman. And I am 100% certain that it's much easier to basically become a high-value man when you have a high-value woman in your life, period. So in conclusion, everybody, I'm gonna say this. These are the traits that I have noticed from men who bring lots of value to their families and to the communities around them. Men, the qualities on this list, in my opinion, these are the qualities that you should be working towards in order to build your generational wealth, in order for you to quote unquote become a high value man. Ladies, in my opinion, these are the qualities that you should be looking for when you are selecting a partner, period. As these are the type of men who are going to essentially help you build your generational wealth. So with that, everybody, this channel, Financipation, is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about building generational wealth. And it's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty, okay? Please follow me at Instagram at @thereal_Financipation. My Facebook page is Financipation, and check out some of my digital, my e-products below as well. On top of that as well, I'm going to be dropping a financial blog very soon. So with that, everybody, please hit the like button. Please share the video. Please comment and please subscribe. I love giving you guys free content, and it helps the algorithm. Take it easy, everybody. It's your boy, Chris. I'm out. Peace. Peace.